A present for Pat. What is it? Patricia Blake demanded eagerly. What's what? Eric Blake murmured. What did you bring? I know you brought me something. Her bosom rose and fell excitedly under her mesh blouse. You brought me a present, I can tell. Honey, I went to Ganymede for Terran metals, not to find you curios. Now let me unpack my things. Bradshaw says I have to report to the office early tomorrow. He says I better report some good ore deposits. Pat snatched up a small box, heaped with all the other luggage the robot porter had deposited at the door. Is it jewelry? No, it's too big for jewelry. She began to tear the cord from the box with her sharp fingernails. Eric frowned uneasily. Don't be disappointed, honey. It's sort of strange, not what you expect. He watched apprehensively. Don't get mad at me. I'll explain all about it. Pat's mouth fell open. She turned pale. She dropped the box quickly on the table, eyes wide with horror. Good Lord, what is it? Eric twisted nervously. I got a good buy on it, honey. You can't usually pick one of them up. The Ganymedeans don't like to sell them, and what is it? It's a god, Eric muttered. A minor Ganymedean deity. I got it practically at cost. Pat gazed down at the box with fear and growing disgust. That's of a god. In the box was a small, motionless figure, perhaps 10 inches high. It was old, terribly old. Its tiny claw-like hands were pressed against its scaly breast. Its insect face was twisted in a scowl of anger mixed with cynical lust. Instead of legs, it rested on a tangle of tentacles. The lower portion of its face dissolved in a complex beak, mandibles of some hard substance. There was an odor to it, as of manure and stale beer. It appeared to be bisexual. Eric had thoughtfully put a little water dish and some straw in the box. It punched air holes in the lid and crumpled up newspaper fragments. You mean it's an idol? Pat regained her poise slowly. An idol of a deity? No, Eric shook his head stubbornly. This is a genuine deity. There's a warranty or something. Is it dead? Not at all. Then why doesn't it move? You have to arouse it. The bottom of the figure's belly cupped outward in a hollow bowl. Eric tapped the bowl. Place an offering here and it comes to life. I'll show you. Pat retreated. No thanks. Come on, it's interesting to talk to. Its name is, he glanced at some writing on the box. Its name is Tinokukna Aravulapapo. We talked most of the way back from Ganymede. It was glad of the opportunity, and I learned quite a few things about gods. Eric searched his pockets and brought out the remains of a ham sandwich. He wadded up a bit of the ham and stuffed it into the protruding belly cup of the god. I'm going in the other room, Pat said. Stick around. Eric caught her arm. It only takes a second. It begins to digest right away. The belly cup quivered. The god's scaly flesh rippled. Presently the cup filled with a sluggish, dark-colored substance. The ham began to dissolve. Pat snorted in disgust. Doesn't it even use its mouth? Not for eating, only for talking. It's a lot different from usual life forms. The tiny eye of the god was focused on them now. A single, unwinking orb of icy malevolence. The mandibles twitched. Greetings, the god said. Hi. Eric nudged Pat forward. This is my wife, Mrs. Blake, Patricia. How do you do, the god grated. Pat gave a squeal of dismay. It talks English. The god turned to Eric in disgust. You were right, she is stupid. Eric colored. Gods can do anything they want, honey. They're omnipotent. The god nodded. That is so. This is Terra, I presume. Yes, how does it look? As I expected, I have already heard reports. Certain reports about Terra. Eric, are you sure it's safe? Pat whispered uneasily. I don't like its looks, and there's something about the way it talks. Her bosom quivered nervously. Don't worry, honey, Eric said carelessly. It's a nice god. I checked before I left Ganymede. I'm benevolent, the god explained matter-of-factly. My capacity has been that of weather deity to the Ganymedean aborigines. I have produced rain and allied phenomena when the occasion demanded. But that's all in the past, Eric added. Correct. I have been a weather deity for 10,000 years. There is a limit to even a god's patience. I craved new surroundings. A peculiar gleam flickered across the loathsome face. That is why I arranged to be sold and brought to Terra. You see, Eric said, the Ganymedeans didn't want to sell it, but it whipped up a thunderstorm and they sort of had to. That's partly why it was so cheap. Your husband made a good purchase, the god said. Its single eye roved around curiously. This is your dwelling. You eat and sleep here. That's right, Eric said. Pat and I both. The front door chimed. Thomas Matson stands on the threshold, the door stated. He wishes admission. Golly, Eric said. Good old Tom, I'll go let him in. Pat indicated the god. Hadn't you better? Oh no, I want Tom to see it. Eric stepped to the door and opened it. Hello, Tom said, striding in. Hi, Pat, nice day. He and Eric shook hands. The lab has been wondering when you get back. Old Bradshaw is leaping up and down to hear your report. Matson's beanpole body bent forward in sudden interest. Say, what's in the box? That's my god, Eric said modestly. Really, but God is an unscientific concept. This is a different god. I didn't invent it. I bought it on Ganymede. It's a Ganymedean weather deity. Say something, Pat said to the god, so he'll believe your owner. Let's debate my existence, the god said sneeringly. You take the negative, agreed. Matson grinned. What is this, Eric? A little robot, sort of hideous looking. Honest, it's a god. On the way it did a couple of miracles for me, not big miracles of course, but enough to convince me. Hearsay, Matson said, but he was interested. Pass a miracle, god, I'm all ears. I am not a vulgar showpiece, the god growled. Don't get it angry, Eric cautioned. There's no limit to its powers once aroused. How does a god come into being? Tom asked. Does a god create itself? If it's dependent on something prior, then there must be a more ultimate order of being which gods, the tiny figure stated, are inhabitants of a higher level, a greater plane of reality, a more advanced dimension. There are a number of planes of existence, dimensional continuums arranged in a hierarchy. Mine is one above yours. What are you doing here? Occasionally beings pass from one dimensional continuum to another. When they pass from a superior continuum to an inferior, as I have done, they are worshipped as gods. Tom was disappointed. You're not a god at all. You're just a life form of a slightly different dimensional order that's changed phase and entered our vector. The little figure glowered. You make it sound simple. Actually, such a transformation requires great cunning and is seldom done. I came here because a member of my race, a certain malodorous Nar Dolk, committed a heinous crime and escaped into this continuum. Our law obliged me to follow in hot pursuit. In the process, this flotsam, this spawn of dampness, escaped and assumed some disguise or other. I continually search, but he has not yet been apprehended. The small god broke off suddenly. Your curiosity is idle. It annoys me. Tom turned his back on the god. Pretty weak stuff. We do more down at the Terran Metals lab than this character ever. The air crackled, ozone flashing. Tom Matson shrieked. Invisible hands lifted him bodily and propelled him to the door. The door swung open and Matson sailed down the walk, tumbling in a heap among the rose bushes, arms and legs flailing wildly. Help, Matson yelled, struggling to get up. Oh dear, Pat gasped. Golly. Eric shot a glance at the tiny figure. You did that? Help him, Pat urged, white-faced. I think he's hurt. He looks funny. Eric hurried outside and helped Matson to his feet. You okay? It's your own fault. I told you if you kept annoying it, something might happen. Matson's face was ablaze with rage. No little pipsqueak god is going to treat me like this. He pushed Eric aside, heading back for the house. I'll take it down to the lab and pop it in a bottle of formaldehyde. I'll dissect it and skin it and hang it up on the wall. I'll have the first specimen of a god known to. A ball of light glowed around Matson. The ball enveloped him, settling in place around his lean body so that he looked like a filament in an incandescent light. What the hell? Matson muttered. Suddenly he jerked. His body faded. He began to shrink. With a faint whoosh he diminished rapidly. Smaller and smaller he dwindled. His body shuddered, altering strangely. The light winked out. Sitting stupidly on the walk was a small green toad. See? Eric said wildly. I told you to keep quiet, now look what it's done. The toad hopped feebly toward the house. At the porch it sagged into immobility, defeated by the steps. It uttered a pathetic, hopeless chug. Pat's voice rose in a wail of anguish. Oh, Eric, look what it's done, poor Tom. His own fault, Eric said. He deserves it. But he was beginning to get nervous. Look here, he said to the god. That's not a very nice thing to do to a grown man. What'll his wife and kids think? What'll Mr. Bradshaw think? Pat cried. He can't go to work like that. True, Eric admitted. He appealed to the god. I think he's learned his lesson. How about turning him back, okay? You just better undo him, Pat shrieked, clenching her small fists. If you don't undo him, you'll have Terran Metals after you. Even a god can't stand up to Horace Bradshaw. Better change him back, Eric said. It'll do him good, the god said. I'll leave him that way for a couple of centuries. Centuries, Pat exploded. Why, you little blob of slime? She advanced ominously toward the box, shaking with wrath. "See here, you turn him back or I'll take you out of your box and drop you into the garbage disposal unit." "Make her be still," the god said to Eric. "Calm down, Pat," Eric implored. "I will not calm down. Who does it think it is? A present? How dare you bring this moldy bit of refuse into our house? Is this your idea of a—" Her voice ceased abruptly. Eric turned apprehensively. Pat stood rigid, her mouth open, a word still on her lips. She did not move. She was white all over, a solid gray white that made cold chills leap up Eric's spine. "Good Lord," he said. "I turned her to stone," the god explained. "She made too much noise," it yawned. "Now I think I'll retire. I'm a little tired after my trip." "I can't believe it," Eric Blake said. He shook his head numbly. "Best friend a toad, my wife turned to stone." "It's true," the god said. "We deal out justice according to how people act. They both got what they deserved. Can she hear me? I suppose." Eric went over to the statue. "Pat," he begged imploringly, "please don't be mad. It isn't my fault." He gripped her ice-cold shoulders. "Don't blame me. I didn't do it." The granite was hard and smooth under his fingers. Pat stared blankly ahead. "Terran metals indeed," the god grumbled sourly. Its single eye studied Eric intently. "Who is this Horace Bradshaw? Some local deity, perhaps?" "Horace Bradshaw owns Terran metals," Eric said gloomily. He sat down and shakily lit a cigarette. "He's about the biggest man on Terra. Terran metals owns half the planets in the system." "Kingdoms of this world do not interest me," the god said noncommittally, subsiding and shutting its eye. "I will retire now. I wish to contemplate certain matters. You may wake me later if you wish. We can converse on theological subjects as we did on the ship coming here." "Theological subjects," Eric said bitterly. "My wife a stone block and it wants to talk about religion." But the god was already withdrawn, retired into itself. "A lot you care," Eric muttered. Anger flickered in him. "This is the thanks I get for taking you off Ganymede. Ruin my household and my social life. Fine god you are." No response. Eric concentrated desperately. Maybe when the god awoke it would be in a better mood. Maybe he could persuade it to turn Matson and Pat back to their usual forms. Faint hope stirred. He could appeal to the god's better side. After it had rested and slept for a few hours, if nobody came looking for Matson. The toad sat disconsolately on the walk, drooping with misery. Eric leaned toward it. "Hey, Matson." The toad looked slowly up. "Don't worry, old man, I'll get it to turn you back. It's a cinch." The toad didn't stir. "A lead pipe cinch," Eric repeated nervously. The toad drooped a little more. Eric looked at his watch. It was late afternoon, almost 4. Tom's shift at Terran began in half an hour. Sweat came out on his forehead. If the god went on sleeping and didn't wake up in half an hour, a buzz. The vidphone. Eric's heart sank. He hurried over and clicked the screen on, steeling himself. Horace Bradshaw's sharp, dignified features faded into focus. His keen glance bored into Eric, penetrating his depths. "Blake," he grunted. "Back from Ganymede, I see." "Yes, sir." Eric's mind raced frantically. He moved in front of the screen, cutting off Bradshaw's view of the room. "I'm just starting to unpack." "Forget that and get over here. We're waiting to hear your report." "Right now, gosh, Mr. Bradshaw, give me a chance to get my things away." He fought desperately for time. "I'll be over tomorrow morning bright and early." "Is Matson there with you?" Eric swallowed. "Yes, sir, but put him on. I want to talk to him." He can't talk to you right now, sir." "What, why not?" "He's in no shape to, that is, he," Bradshaw snarled impatiently. "Then bring him along with you, and he better be sober when he gets here. I'll see you at my office in 10 minutes. He broke the circuit. The screen faded abruptly. Eric sank wearily down in a chair. His mind reeled. 10 minutes. He shook his head, stunned. The toad hopped a little, stirring on the walk. It emitted a faint, despondent sound. Eric got heavily to his feet. "I guess we have to face the music," he murmured. He bent down and picked up the toad, putting it gingerly in his coat pocket. "I guess you heard, that was Bradshaw. We're going down to the lab." The toad stirred uneasily. "I wonder what Bradshaw is going to say when he sees you." Eric kissed his wife's cold granite cheek. "Goodbye, honey." He moved numbly down the walk to the street. A moment later he hailed a robot cab and entered it. "I have a feeling this is going to be hard to explain." The cab zipped off down the street. "Hard as hell to explain." Horace Bradshaw stared in dumbfounded amazement. He removed his steel-rimmed glasses and wiped them slowly. He fitted them back on his hard, hawk-like face and peered down. The toad rested silently in the center of the immense mahogany desk. Bradshaw pointed shakily at the toad. This is Thomas Matson." "Yes, sir," Eric said. Bradshaw blinked in wonder. "Matson, what in the world has happened to you?" "He's a toad," Eric explained. "So I see. Incredible." Bradshaw pressed a stud on his desk. "Send in Jennings from the biology lab," he ordered. "A toad." He poked the toad with his pencil. "Is that really you, Matson?" the toad chugged. "Good Lord." Bradshaw sat back, wiping his forehead. His grim expression faded into sympathetic concern. He shook his head sadly. "I can't believe it. Some kind of bacterial blight, I suppose." Matson was always experimenting on himself. He took his work seriously. A brave man, a good worker. He did much for Terran Metals. Too bad he had to end this way. We'll extend full pension to him, of course. Jennings entered the office. "You wanted me, sir. Come in." Bradshaw beckoned him impatiently in. "We have a problem for your department. You know Eric Blake here." "Hi, Blake. And Thomas Matson." Bradshaw indicated the toad. "From the non-ferrous lab." "I know Matson," Jennings said slowly. "That is, I know a Matson from non-ferrous, but I don't recall, that is, he was taller than this, almost 6 feet." "This is him," Eric said gloomily. "He's a toad now." "What happened?" Jennings's scientific curiosity was aroused. "What's the lowdown?" "It's a long story," Eric said evasively. "Can't you tell it?" Jennings scrutinized the toad professionally. "Looks like a regular type of toad. You're sure this is Tom Matson?" "Come clean, Blake. You must know more than you're telling." Bradshaw studied Eric intently. "Yes, what did happen, Blake? You have a strange, shifty look. Are you responsible for this?" Bradshaw half rose from his chair, his grim face bleak. "See here, if it's your fault one of my best men has been incapacitated for further work, take it easy," Eric protested, his mind racing frantically. He patted the toad nervously. "Matson is perfectly safe as long as nobody steps on him. We can rig up some sort of protective shield and an automatic communication system that'll enable him to spell out words. He can continue his work. With a few adjustments here and there, everything should speed along perfectly." "Answer me," Bradshaw roared. "Are you responsible for this? Is this your doing?" Eric squirmed helplessly. "In a way, I suppose. Not exactly. Not directly." His voice wavered. "But I guess you'd say if it hadn't been for me." Bradshaw's face set in a rigid mask of rage. "Blake, you're fired." He yanked a heap of forms from his desk dispenser. "Get out of here and never come back. And get your hand off that toad. It belongs to Terran Metals." He shoved a paper across the desk. "Here's your paycheck, and don't bother looking for work elsewhere. I'm listing you on the intersystem blacklist. Good day." "But Mr. Bradshaw, don't plead." Bradshaw waved his hand. "Just go. Jennings, get your biology staff busy at once. This problem must be licked. I want you to rearrange this toad back to its original shape. Matson is a vital part of Terran Metals. There's work to be done, work only Matson can do. We can't have this sort of thing holding up our research." "Mr. Bradshaw," Eric begged desperately, "please listen. I want to see Tom back as he was, but there's only one way we can get him back his original shape." Bradshaw's eyes were cold with hostility. "You still here, Blake? Must I call my guards and have you dismembered? I'm giving you 1 minute to be off company land, understand?" Eric nodded miserably. "I understand." He turned and shuffled unhappily toward the door. "So long, Jennings, so long, Tom. I'll be home if you want me, Mr. Bradshaw." "Sorcerer," Bradshaw snapped. "Good riddance." "What would you do?" Eric asked the robot cab driver. "If your wife had turned to stone, your best friend were a toad, and you had lost your job?" "Robots have no wives," the driver said. "They are non-sexual. Robots have no friends either. They are incapable of emotional relationships." "Can robots be fired?" "Sometimes." The robot drew his cab up before Eric's modest 6-room bungalow. "But consider, robots are frequently melted down and new robots made from the remains. Recall Ibsen's Peer Gynt, the section concerning the button molder. The lines clearly anticipate in symbolic form the trauma of robots to come." "Yeah." The door opened and Eric got out. "I guess we all have our problems." "Robots have worse problems than anybody." The door shut and the cab zipped off back down the hill. "Worse? Hardly." Eric entered his home slowly, the front door automatically opening for him. "Welcome, Mr. Blake," the door greeted him. "I suppose Pat's still here." "Mrs. Blake is here, but she is in a cataleptic state or some similar condition. She's been turned to stone." Eric kissed the cold lips of the statue gloomily. Hi, honey. He got some meat from the refrigerator and crumbled it into the belly cup of the god. Presently digestive fluid rose and covered the food. In a short time the single eye of the god opened, blinked a few times, and focused on Eric. Have a good sleep, Eric inquired icily. I wasn't asleep. My mind was turned toward matters of cosmic import. I detect a hostile quality in your voice. Has something unfavorable occurred? Nothing. Nothing at all. I just lost my job on top of everything else. Lost your job? Interesting. What else do you refer to? Eric exploded in rage. You've messed up my whole life, damn you, he jabbed at the silent, unmoving figure of his wife. Look, my wife turned to granite and my best friend a toad. Tinokukna Aravulapapo yawned. So, why, what did I ever do to you? Why do you treat me this way? Look at all I've done for you. I only brought you here to Terra, fed you. Fixed you up a box with straw and water and newspapers, that's all. True, you did bring me to Terra. Again an odd gleam flickered across the god's dark face. All right, I'll restore your wife. You will? Pathetic joy surged through Eric. Tears came to his eyes. He was too relieved to ask any questions. Gosh, I sure would appreciate it. The god concentrated. Stand out of the way. It's easier to distort the molecular arrangement of a body than to restore the original configuration. I hope I can get it exactly as it was. It made a faint motion. Around Pat's silent figure the air stirred. The pale granite shuddered. Slowly, color seeped back into her features. She gasped sharply, her dark eyes flashing with fear. Color filled her arms, shoulders, breasts, spreading through her trim body. She cried out, tottering unsteadily. Eric! Eric caught her, hugging her tight. Gosh, honey, I'm sure glad you're all right. He crushed her against him, feeling her heart thump with terror. He kissed her soft lips again and again. Welcome back. Pat pulled abruptly away. That little snake, that miserable particle of waste, wait until I get my hands on it. She advanced toward the god, eyes blazing. Listen, you, what's the idea? How dare you? See, the god said, they never change. Eric pulled his wife back. You better shut up or you'll be granite again. Understand? Pat caught the urgent rasp in his voice. She subsided reluctantly. All right, Eric, I give up. Listen, Eric said to the god. How about Tom? How about restoring him? The toad, where is he? In the biology lab. Jennings and his staff are working on him. The god considered. I don't like the sound of that. The biology lab, where is that? How far away? Terran Metals, main building. Eric was impatient. Maybe 5 miles. How about it? Maybe if you restore him, Bradshaw will give me my job back. You owe it to me. Set things back the way they were. I can't. You can't. Why the hell not? I thought gods were omnipotent, Pat sniffed petulantly. I can do anything at short range. The Terran Metals biology lab is too far. 5 miles is beyond my limit. I can distort molecular arrangements within a limited circle only. Eric was incredulous. What, you mean you can't turn Tom back? That's the way it is. You shouldn't have taken him out of the house. Gods are subject to natural law just as you are. Our laws are different, but they are still laws. I see, Eric murmured. You should have said, as far as your job goes, don't worry about that. Here, I'll create some gold. The god made a motion with its scaly hands. A section of curtain flashed suddenly yellow and crashed to the floor with a metallic tinkle. Solid gold, that ought to keep you a few days. We're no longer on the gold standard. Well, whatever you need, I can do anything. Except turn Tom back into a human being, Pat said. Fine god you are. Shut up, Pat, Eric muttered, deep in thought. If there was some way I could be closer to him, the god said cautiously. If he were within range, Bradshaw will never let him go, and I can't set foot around there. The guards will tear me to bits. How about some platinum? The god made a pass and a section of the wall glowed white. Solid platinum, a simple change of atomic weight, will that help? No, Eric paced back and forth. We've got to get that toad away from Bradshaw. If we can get him back here, I have an idea, the god said. What? Perhaps you could get me in there. Perhaps if I could get onto the company grounds within range of the biology lab. It's worth a try, Pat said, putting her hand on Eric's shoulder. After all, Tom's your best friend. It's a shame to treat him this way. It's un-Terran. Eric grabbed his coat. It's settled. I'll drive as close as I can to the company grounds. I ought to be able to get near enough before the guards catch sight of me to a crash. Front door collapsed abruptly in a heap of ash. Teams of robot police surged into the room, blast guns ready. All right, Jennings said. That's him. He strode quickly into the house. Get him and get that thing in the box. Jennings, Eric swallowed in alarm. What the hell is this? Jennings's lip curled. Cut out the pretense, Blake, you're not fooling me. He tapped a small metal case under his arm. The toad revealed all. So you've got a non-terrestrial in this house, have you? He laughed coldly. There's a law against bringing non-Terrans to Earth. You're under arrest, Blake. You'll probably get life. Tino kukna aravula papo, Eric Blake squeaked. Don't forsake me at a time like this. I'm coming, the god grunted. It heaved violently. How's this? The robot police jerked as a torrent of force erupted from the box. Abruptly they disappeared, winking out of existence. Where they had stood, a horde of mechanical mice milled aimlessly, spilling frantically through the doorway, out into the yard. Jennings's face showed astonishment and then panic. He retreated, waving his blaster menacingly. See here, Blake, don't think you can scare me. We've got this house surrounded. A bolt of force hit him in the stomach. The bolt lifted him and shook him like a rag doll. His blaster skidded from his fingers, falling to the floor. Jennings groped for it desperately. The blaster turned into a spider and crawled rapidly off out of his reach. Set him down, Eric urged. All right. The god released Jennings. He crashed to the floor, stunned and frightened. He scrambled wildly to his feet and ran from the house down the path to the sidewalk. Oh dear, Pat said. What is it? Look, pulled up in a circle around the house was a solid line of atomic cannon. Their snouts gleamed wickedly in the late afternoon sunlight. Groups of robot police stood around each cannon, waiting alertly for instructions. Eric groaned. We're sunk. One blast and we're finished. Do something, Pat gasped. She prodded the box. Enchant them, don't just sit there. They are out of range, the god replied. As I explained, my power is limited by distance. You in there, a voice came, magnified by 100 loudspeakers. Come out with your hands up, or we open fire. Bradshaw, Eric groaned. He's out there, we're trapped. You sure you can't do something? Sorry, the god said. I can put up a shield against the cannon. It concentrated. Outside the house a dull surface formed, a globe rapidly hardening around them. All right, Bradshaw's magnified voice came, muffled by the shield. You asked for it. The first shell hit. Eric found himself lying on the floor, his ears ringing, everything going around and around. Pat lay beside him, dazed and frightened. The house was a shambles. Walls, chairs, furniture, all was in ruins. Find shield, Pat gasped. The concussion, the god protested. Its box lay in the corner on its side. The shield stops the shells, but the concussion, a second shell struck. A wall of pressure rolled over Eric, stunning him. He skidded, tossed by a violent wind, crashing against heaps of debris that had been his house. We can't last, Pat said faintly. Tell them to stop, Eric, please. Your wife is right, the god's calm voice came up from its overturned box. Surrender, Eric, give yourself up. I guess I better. Eric pulled himself up on his knees. But golly, I don't want to spend the rest of my life in prison. I knew I was breaking the law when I smuggled the damn thing in here, but I never thought a third shell hit. Eric tumbled down, his chin smacking the floor. Plaster and rubble rained down on him, choking and blinding him. He fought his way up, grabbing hold of a jutting beam. Stop, he shouted. There was sudden silence. Are you willing to surrender? The magnified voice boomed. Surrender, the god murmured. Eric's mind raced desperately. I have a deal, a compromise. He thought fast, his brain in high gear. I have a proposal. There was a long pause. What's the proposal? Eric stepped warily through the rubble to the edge of the shield. The shield was almost gone. Only a shimmering haze remained through which the circle of atomic cannon was visible, the cannon and the robot police. Matson, Eric gasped, getting his breath. The toad will make the following deal. We'll restore Matson to his original shape. We'll return the non-terrestrial to Ganymede. In return, you waive prosecution and I get my job back. Absurd. My labs can easily restore Matson without your help. Oh yeah, ask Matson, he'll tell you. If you don't agree, Matson will be a toad for the next 200 years at least. A long silence followed. Eric could see figures moving back and forth, conferring behind the guns. All right, Bradshaw's voice came at last. We agree. Drop the shield and come forward. Send Jennings with the toad. No tricks, Blake. No tricks, Eric sagged with relief. Come along, he said to the god, picking up the dented box. Drop the shield and let's get this over with. Those cannon make me nervous. The god relaxed. The shield, what was left of it, wavered and faded, blinking off. "Here I come." Eric advanced warily, the box in his hands. "Where's Matson?" Jennings came toward him. "I have him." His curiosity overcame his suspicion. This ought to be interesting. We should make a close study of all extra-dimensional life. Apparently they possess science much in advance of our own. Jennings squatted down, placing the small green toad carefully on the grass. "There he is," Eric said to the god. "Is this close enough?" Pat asked icily. "This is sufficient," the god said. "This is exactly right." It turned its single eye on the toad and made a few brief motions with its scaly claws. A shimmer hovered over the toad. Extra-dimensional forces were at work, fingering and plucking at the toad molecules. Abruptly the toad twitched. For a second it shuddered, an insistent vibration lapped over it. Then Matson ballooned into existence, the familiar beanpole figure towering over Eric and Jennings and Pat. "Lord," Matson breathed shakily. He got out his handkerchief and wiped his face. "I'm glad that's over. Wouldn't want to go through that again." Jennings retreated hurriedly toward the circle of cannon. Matson turned and headed after him. Eric and his wife and god were suddenly alone in the center of the lawn. "Hey," Eric demanded, cold alarm plucking at him. "What is this? What the hell is going on?" "Sorry, Blake," Bradshaw's voice came. "It was essential to restore Matson, but we can't alter the law. The law is above any man, even me. You're under arrest." Robot police swarmed forward, grimly surrounding Eric and Pat. "You skunk," Eric choked, struggling feebly. Bradshaw came out from behind the cannon, hands in his pockets, grinning calmly. "Sorry, Blake. You should be out of jail in 10 or 15 years, though. Your job will be waiting for you, I promise. As for this extra-dimensional being, I'm quite interested in seeing it. I've heard of such things." He peered toward the box. "I'm happy to take charge of it. Our labs will perform experiments and tests on it which will—" Bradshaw's words died. His face turned a sickly hue. His mouth opened and closed, but no sounds came. From the box came a swelling, frenzied buzz of rage. "Nar Dolk, I knew I'd find you." Bradshaw retreated, trembling violently. "Why, of all persons, Tinokukna Aravulapapo, what are you doing on Terra?" He stumbled, half falling. "How did you, that is after so long, how could?" Then Bradshaw was running, scattering robot police in all directions, rushing wildly past the atomic cannon. "Nar Dolk!" the god screamed, swelling with fury. "Scourge of the Seven Temples, flotsam of space, I knew you were on this miserable planet. Come back and take your punishment." The god burst upward, flashing into the air. It raced past Eric and Pat, growing as it flew. A sickening, nauseous wind, warm and damp, lapped at their faces as the god gained speed. Bradshaw Nar Dolk ran frantically, and as he ran he changed. Immense wings sprouted from him, great leathery wings beating the air in frantic haste. His body oozed and altered. Tentacles replaced his legs, scaly claws replaced arms. Gray hide rippled as he flew up, wings flapping noisily. Tinokukna Aravulapapo struck. For a brief moment the two locked together, twisting and rolling in the air, wings and claws raking and flapping. Then Nar Dolk broke away, fluttering up. A blazing flash, a pop, and he was gone. For a moment Tinokukna Aravulapapo hovered in the air. The scaly head turned, the single eye glancing back and down at Eric and Pat. It nodded briefly. Then with a curious shimmy it vanished. The sky was empty except for a few feathers and the dull stench of burning scales. Eric was the first to speak. "Well," he said, "so that's why it wanted to come to Terra. I guess I was sort of exploited." He grinned sheepishly. "The first Terran ever to be exploited." Matson gawked, still peering up. "They're gone, both of them, back to their own dimension, I guess." A robot policeman plucked at Jennings's sleeve. "Shall we arrest anyone, sir?" "With Mr. Bradshaw gone, you are next in charge." Jennings glanced at Eric and Pat. "I suppose not. The evidence has departed. It seems somewhat silly anyhow." He shook his head. "Bradshaw, imagine, and we worked for him for years. Damn strange business." Eric put his arm around his wife. He pulled her against him, hugging her tight. "I'm sorry, honey," he said softly. "Sorry. Your present, it's gone. I guess I'll have to get you something else." Pat laughed, pressing against him. "That's all right. I'll let you in on a secret." "What?" Pat kissed him, her lips warm against his cheek. "As a matter of fact, I'm just as glad. If you enjoyed this or any of my other work, please be sure to like and subscribe. as it really helps with the algorithm. And if you really enjoyed this, please leave me a tip via the link in the description. Thanks for listening.